Mr. President, at a time when millions of people nationwide are speaking out and making absolutely clear no to more attacks on women's health and women's rights, and no to the kind of hate and division President Trump sowed on the campaign trail, it is unconscionable that my Republican colleagues are moving now to confirm a circuit court nominee that is so clearly anti-woman, anti-choice, and so clearly unqualified and unfit to serve on the bench. Now, my Republican colleagues may think that no one is paying close attention to this nomination, that perhaps they'll just slip this one through. Well, Mr. President, they're wrong. I am here, along with many of my colleagues today, to take a stand, to make sure that families know just who President Trump is trying to fill our nation's court system with, and call on Republicans to reject this nomination of John Bush to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Mr. President, I consider my decisions about whether or not to support judicial nominees to be among the most important and consequential choices I make as a United States Senator. And like Supreme Court justices, Circuit Court judges have lifetime appointments. They set legal precedent. They decide on the majority of federal cases. They can change and shape the lives of generations to come. And so it is a responsibility I do not take lightly. Mr. President, there are so many troubling aspects of this nominee's record, previous statements, writings, legal views that should alarm every American, from his views on LGBTQ rights, about race, about campaign finance reform, to his vision of the environment and for our election laws. But I'd like to start with one aspect of his record that is especially important to me as a woman, as a mother, a grandmother, and a United States Senator. And that is what this nomination would mean for women. For nearly a decade, Bush has made countless inflammatory, offensive, and troubling comments on a number of issues important to women. Now, it's not possible to go through them all, and frankly, most should not be repeated on the Senate floor. But I do want to make clear just what kind of nominee this is. Bush has likened a woman's constitutionally protected right to choose to that of slavery, calling it one of the greatest tragedies in the history of our country. This harmful view is a pattern with Bush. In fact, he consistently uses anti-choice rhetoric, whether he's writing about the right to privacy or other case law. On top of that, Bush has attacked essential health programs for women and children. For example, he has called the Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Program, which, by the way, helps provide at-risk pregnant women the resources they need to raise healthy children, wasteful. He has authored an amicus brief advocating for the Virginia Military Institute to continue excluding women from admission, where he stated that there are, quote, different developmental needs of women and men. And most recently, on his Judiciary Committee questionnaire, he failed to disclose memberships with various organizations that do not admit women as well as people of color. I could go on, and any of these alone would be enough for me to oppose this nomination. There are a lot more, because along with his views about women, we've learned of a disturbing pattern of hostility towards the LGBTQ community. In several articles, Bush has praised court decisions that attack LGBTQ rights. He has used anti-LGBTQ slurs in his personal speeches, and he has publicly applauded statements made by candidates for office and government officials that oppose marriage equality. Now, when given an opportunity to explain any of these comments or previous writings during his committee testimony, he was evasive and dodged questions, and he certainly did not apologize or clarify any of those comments. So, Mr. President, I don't think I need to go any further, but I hope it's becoming increasingly clear. This is not a normal nominee. This is someone who lacks the qualifications and character and temperament to be appointed to a lifetime position on the federal bench. Mr. President, it is time for President Trump to stop trying to divide our country and use federal court nominations to push his extreme agenda and undo progress for women and the LGBTQ community. And I'll just remind my Republican colleagues, we have joined together this year to reject extreme nominees like this before with Andrew Puzder and Mark Green. And those, by the way, were temporary cabinet positions. This is a lifetime appointment. So I hope we do the right thing and reject this nomination. And before I conclude, Mr. President, it is my understanding that Senate Republicans may attempt to misrepresent Bush's harmful record on women. In case there is any confusion, I'd like to read a statement from Planned Parenthood of Indiana and Kentucky on the Bush nomination. Quote, Planned Parenthood of Indiana and Kentucky call on Senator Mitch McConnell and Senator Rand Paul to reject the nomination of John Bush to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Bush has demonstrated that he is unqualified for this federal court and upholding fundamental constitutional rights in his writings comparing abortion and slavery, while applauding statements that demonstrate a record of hostility to women and LGBTQ individuals. Senator McConnell's statements citing PPINC board members' support on the Bush nomination do not reflect the organizational position of the Planned Parenthood affiliate in Kentucky and Indiana, and we urge the Senate to reject a nominee that lacks the independence and temperament necessary for a federal judgeship. So, Mr. President, that's unquote. Mr. President, I urge our Republican colleagues to make the right choice, to reject this nominee and put in place people on a court position that is a lifetime appointment, one that all Americans feel that will represent them on the bench. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.